why does the EU sort of stir such a big emotion in the UK? Because we were discussing before the panel started, people were saying, like, you know, it's fine to have conference in the UK, but it's actually, the EU is in the news here because, you know, people are skeptic, but it's being talked about. Why does the EU sort of emote such big emotions here?
I think it's a combination of factors. I mean, the British debate is sort of adversarial. It's based on, you know, two parties sitting opposite each other and then, you know, arguing out over the dispatch box. I mean, that's how you do things in this country. It's very to two positions, which also, when you transfer that into the European debate, it becomes sort of Eurosceptic versus Europhile, and that doesn't necessarily capture the various nuances involved in the debate, but it does tend to make it very emotional as well. You have one pro and one anti-capitalist going at it. I also think there is some element of truth in the whole sort of historical notion, and the island mentality is a bit of a cliche, but there is certain truth in that as well. Not so much because it's geographic in Ireland, but because Britain has a very distinct history and proud heritage. And of course that plays into what people feel about what is being perceived as outside interference. But then, you know, most importantly perhaps, people just simply disagree with what's going on in Europe a lot of times. They just disagree with it. It doesn't sit well with how they feel that things in government should be run. And that also stirs up emotion.
Well, for me, I feel very strongly that, you know, my country's sovereignty, Ireland, has been taken away, and we've lost control of our economy. And, you know, the Irish economy, who had had a banking crisis, is now facing national bankruptcy because of the EU, because of the euro. The Irish Finance Ministry has had German advisors from Frankfurt running it for a year now. You know, the country on September 29th were bailed out at the expense of the state, European banks. This is not in Ireland's interest. I feel very strongly that my country's been ruined by the EU.
To be fair, surely the Irish government has certain part to play
Yeah, the whole of the Irish political class was overwhelmingly Europhile. It took Declan Ganley, as someone from outside the political class, to fight against the Lisbon Treaty. I was over there during that, and I remember Nigel Farage's coming over. And you look at all the abuse he got as putting forward the Eurosceptic case and warning that you could have a crisis like we have now. Well, we were proved right.
Well, yeah, but the trouble with the anti-Lisbon Treaty campaign in Ireland argued that any sensible points were being made, and there were some, and Gandhi, to be fair, made quite a few, were drowned out by all nonsense. It was drowned out by this whole, oh, we're going to be forced to drop our neutrality, we're going to be forced to have abortions.
Well, that's what happened to the campaign.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Those things always take precedence in any kind of coverage. This is the whole problem with the Irish press as well. They started going up, going, yeah, we're going to have to go to war now. We're going to have to all have abortions.
All the Irish papers backed the treaty. There was no, you know, the Irish Times in particular was just absolutely painting out as opposed to the accession to the treaty as some kind of fringe loony.
Well, that's because there were quite a few fringe loonies, and that's the problem. The fringe loonies get coverage, and the sensible Eurosceptic arguments rarely do. I mean, I've gone on that Eurosceptic arguments should get more coverage in the British press, but the sensible ones, not your Farage's chumming around sort of doing his 75% of laws coming from Brussels claims, because they're just palpable nonsense. And anyone with any sense at all will look at those and look at the Irish abortions and Irish neutrality claims, and they'll say, well, that's obviously wrong. Whereas there are a lot of very valid criticisms which get buried amongst all the nonsense.
Well, a few issues on the table. But I do think, in terms of the Irish debate, it was a tricky one, because if you look at a lot of the claims that were made before the introduction of the Lisbon Treaty, for example, on strengthening the national parliament, I mean, that was something that should have been pushed much harder by anti-Lisbon campaigners, because it turned out that this argument that Lisbon will somehow strengthen national parliament turned out to be nonsense. The net effect is that it has weakened national parliaments, and that's become practical now. So I think that in the anti-Lisbon campaigns there were some points that should have been made that weren't, but I mean there's a long list of things.
Well, this goes back to your earlier point about the EU sort of tries to do too much, and if you're trying to explain something that complicated, there's nowhere to focus. And so you end up getting a Daily Express after the Lisbon Treaty was signed, lauded the end of Britain, or whatever their stupid headline was, as if suddenly national sovereignty is out the you know, other countries, we're chugging along quite happy, and it hasn't really changed much. And the reason it hasn't changed much is because it was lots of tiny little tweaks here and there, and most of them really do a great deal. And trying to explain that to people is difficult. And then you get a few major clauses in there which are potentially going to have some serious impacts, and nobody really understands what they are, because even the people who drafted them don't really understand what they are. So you've had to water it down so the 27 national governments can all agree to it. You know, if you're having a compromise between 27 different governments of various political views, you're never going to do anything particularly radical.
We've already sort of cited this several times about Europe. Let's talk about them. Sort of a nonsense that comes into being and versus the sort of Euroscepticism that's valid. How do Euromyths come into being, and what are they? Why do they
Some of them are
exist?
deliberately created. Like the biggest Euromyth is that without it we'd have war in Europe. I don't think the non-existence of the EU would lead to Germany invading Poland.
Yeah, I mean that's the classic pro-EU myth. And yeah, arguably it is a bit nonsense. Although the EU is part of a vast network of multinational, international organisations like the Council of Europe and the UN and all the rest of it, which have created conditions in Europe that means that war is less likely. Although economic competition potentially hasn't quite been sort of stamped out. So economic war is arguably going on now, if you want to take the slightly anti-EU line, that Germany is trying to protect its business interests by stamping out crises. But, you know, as I say, I'm not an economist and I wouldn't pretend to be, so anything I say on economics you should probably just ignore.
Second EU myth is that we're richer for it. Well, countries of trade in Europe that aren't in the EU are richer.
Like which ones?
Like some of the Nordic countries.
Norway.
Some of the sort of
The Norway thing, that's something I've been going to write a post on this for months, and I haven't quite got around to it.
Switzerland seems to cope quite well as well.
Well, yes, but they do use quite a lot of EU laws, and they do contribute a moderate amount of money into the EU without any say. Have we got any Norwegians here?
Well, I mean, we used to rule them, so maybe I can speak for them before things got messed up. But welfare, actually, we gave them all. Yeah, I think Norway's probably accepted something like 25% of single market legislation. I mean, they get some other benefits in return. For example, autonomy over their fishing industry, which is, if you know in Norwegian, quite important. So I mean, it is a trade-off there for Norway. But I mean, they do well outside the European Union, and they're not going to join the time. But on Euromyths, I mean, there's so much more to this discussion than somehow British media being this perpetual source of Euromyths, because there are Euromyths on both sides, as Guido pointed out here. I mean, running up to in the Lisbon Treaty campaigns, for instance, you had so many Euromyths flying around from the pro-Lisbon camp. Margaret Wallström was amazing. She was absolutely, I mean, great politician, very genuine politician, but she was extraordinary in her communication campaigns leading up to the, not least the second referendum in Ireland, talking about how Lisbon would strengthen childcare and stuff like that. I mean, it's quite unfortunate this is being portrayed as something that only flows from British media. And the second thing, I'll ask you a question, speaking about the cost of regulation, which I know you've been written some stuff about. Who is the source? Who is responsible for one of the greatest Euromyths in the UK flying around at the moment? Which paper? The Daily Mail? The Daily Express? Any other contenders? Daily Star? It's the Financial Times.
Tell us more about it.
The Financial Times.